Welcome, everyone. We're excited to talk to you all today. We have an awesome creator with us who's done a lot of amazing different things. So we're going to have a great conversation tonight. My name is Michael. I'm the host of the Indie Spotlight. I'm also one of the co-founders of Wicked Publishing. We're also joined by fellow co-founder Matt Bryant, who's with us today.
How's it going, everyone?
And as I said, we're joined by kind of this all-around creator, Brannon Hollingsworth. He's going to tell us all about the different projects he's working on. And welcome. How are you doing today?
I am doing great. Thanks so much, guys, for having me on. I'm really excited. This is the first time I've been on a YouTube stream, so it's pretty.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, man. That's awesome. And we've seen you in the community, so it's finally nice to speak to you and kind of find out what you're all about. So without further ado, why don't you kind of give us an introduction on who you are and how you got started in the various arts that you're involved with.
Oh boy, that's a long story.
Well, we're ready, man. We're in for the long haul.
So my name is Brannon Hollingsworth, and I'm kind of a self-proclaimed creative cyclone. That's what I like to kind of term myself as. I guess in terms of the creative space, I actually got my start way back in the day with role-playing games. I'm a big RPG fan, and back in the mid 90s, there were a couple things happened. There was an intersection with two of my passions. One of them was role-playing games, and the other was the need to express myself, and that came through HTML. So that was something brand new back then, and I was learning it because I've pretty much worked in the IT industry my entire life for the most part.
Okay.
And so I was learning HTML and wanted a personal project to kind of push myself on. To learn the code. And I know this sounds crazy today, but that was back in the day when we used just Notepad to create websites. And so I decided to create a little website dedicated to a campaign setting that I really liked called Planescape. So Wizards of the Coast, the folks that created Magic the Gathering and later bought D&D, they had a campaign setting called Planescape. And so I created a website using HTML, and that kind of is what got me started into the creative space, at least I guess professionally, you could say. So
that's wild, yeah, to see where you've kind of come from since the beginnings to now. Seems like you've come a long way.
And in terms of writing, I got my start back in the 5th grade when I wrote my first short story, and I was kind of hooked. So I've always written since I was in elementary school. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I love to see that early inspiration there.
Hey, I've got it. If you want to see it.
Yeah, you still got the original, huh? Oh, that's cool. You got to hold on to that one, man. I'm kind of like you. I like when I was in elementary school, I wrote like a comic book or something, right? Or
cool.
like I did something, but I don't think I saw mine, unfortunately. That's well, that's awesome, man. And so you kind of broke into the different arts, and so from what I understand, you do comics, and you also run an animation company. You kind of maybe tell us like what kind of made you want to get into starting your own company and kind of branching out into doing different types of arts?
Sure. So this is actually, in terms of the creative space, I've actually had several companies, and this is, I think, the third or fourth that I've had. But for Brainy Pixel specifically, the Christian animation studio that I'm the chief creative officer of, it actually started about 10 years ago with a friend of mine and I who were involved with a mutual project together. And he then went off and started playing around with this new thing at that point in time called YouTube. It was kind of a brand new thing. And he created a channel called How to Draw and Paint. It was a very simple channel teaching kids how to draw and how to paint. And it kind of took off. And before you knew it, we had nearly 1 million subscribers. And it was super busy. And he said, "Hey, Brandon, I really need some help. Can you come in and kind of help me maintain the channel and, you know, respond to comments and block people and, you know, all the stuff you have to do." And so I came in and did that. And the channel was going really well. And we are both very creative at heart. And we said, let's make something. Let's do something, you know, that's kind of new, kind of our own. And so we came up with an idea for a little show, a little 3D animated show called The Pick Train. Very early childhood education. It's like, you know, what are my letters? What are my numbers? How to count? But it's all in 3D using Blender, which is a free open source 3D software. And so we created over 30 episodes of that little show, and it caught the eye of TBN, Trinity Broadcast Network, which is the largest Christian network on the planet. and they licensed it from us, and we were like, hey, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
Let's do that some
really
more.
Cool.
And so we then started, trying to make additional shows, and we're out pitching shows all the time now, and getting pick train on additional platforms. I think we're on about 7 or 8 different streaming platforms now. And right now we've got a film project, a 3D film project that's in the works. That is kind of top secret. But then we also have several shows on our brainypixel.com site that we're currently pitching all over the place right now. And one is a kind of a 4 to 7 year old kids show. It's a children's kids animation called Cubekins. Another is a little bit older show. It's kind of like a Ben 10 meets Avatar: The Last Airbender called Divine Nine. Another one is a little bit older. It's kind of like the video game age, 13 to 15 or so. And that one is called Fourth World 4. And then I've got a passion project that I've been personally working on for about 15 years now, building the world and the universe, called Tenet's Tales. And we just released a comic based on that property as well.
Oh, wow, okay.
All kind of stories that I can tell in that realm. So, and we're
you guys stay busy.
Yeah, seriously.
And that's just the stuff we can talk about. So there's a lot more waiting in the wings.
That's incredible, man. That really is. It is like, do you just find, like, is it all coming from like a place of passion? Is that how you find all this energy?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, for me, I am super creative, first of all, and I love seeing a product mature. So I love taking an idea all the way from kind of its inception all the way to a market. That's where I really, that's the space I enjoy populating. And so for me, I am super motivated by, nailing the idea, honing it until its kind of essence, and then producing top quality scripts or books or comics or shows or whatever the need is. And then getting that out so that the world can see it and potentially interact with it and hopefully buy it as well. So I just love that process of going from, I just had this idea to seeing the full kind of maturation of that concept. That's what motivates me. So
that's amazing. Yeah. I love the things we're seeing here. This one looks really cool. I could definitely see the Ben 10 influences.
Absolutely. Yeah. We wanted to go with a really strong Ben 10 look and feel there. Because we felt that it really matched kind of the story that we were trying to tell. And it just, the Ben 10 came out about, 10, 15 years ago, and we haven't really seen anything kind of like that since. And for me, as kind of a geek, I always geeked out on that art style. And so I'm like, if I'm going to do this story, I would really like for it to land somewhere close to that kind of style, because it's very evocative.
Yeah, I love these designs here. These are really cool.
Mm-hmm. They also give off a little bit of the old school RPG styles too, like Final Fantasies and Shin Miyagi Tensei's.
Right.
But at the same time, they look really great. It's still updated and still fresh looking, and something that you wouldn't normally see in 2D nowadays.
Thank you. That's great, Michael. I'm glad you picked up on that, because actually when I wrote those characters, I actually originally spec'd them using RPG stats. I went in and said,
really?
Yeah. I pulled on some of my old RPG design, because I've done some game design in the past as well. And I said, hey, I need a character who's kind of a ranger type, kind of a multi-class. I need a healer type. I need a mage. I need a rogue. And so I actually built all those characters we were just looking at on essentially RPG archetypes, so that they could translate really easily, both in terms of story and to any potential gameplay. Because as a studio, we're using the Unreal Game Engine as our primary vehicle for all of our final animation.
That's pretty smart, man. Huh?
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited about that technology. If you're not aware, the Unreal Game Engine can be used obviously to make games, as we're all aware of, but it can also be used for animation.
Huh. I had no idea.
And so not many people are doing that yet, but actually the Disney used the Unreal Game Engine for some of the Mandalorian in season 1. Yeah,
that's so wild.
And so
it makes sense. I mean, I guess they're getting more. These game engines are getting so powerful nowadays that you really can do that.
Absolutely. And the real benefit for the Unreal game engine is the real-time rendering, because it is so fast. You know, the old days, like, you know, the Pixar days, or, you know, the DreamWorks and things like that, you would compose a scene and then you'd have to go send it off to a render farm and then wait 24 hours, you know, or longer. And then you get to see what you've done. Well, with Unreal, it's so fast and it's so powerful. You can literally make a change real time while the thing is running and see that effect immediately. So,
but that saves you so much time.
Yeah, well, it really helps you be able to tell a story better as an animator, and to be flexible, right? So, which is crazy. So it's awesome, and we love it. And so for us, it's a big incentive to make all the properties that we're developing ready for film, but also have kind of a built-in gameplay in the story of the world as well. So if we get the production funding we need to make the show, it is an immediate cost savings, and an immediate market uptick to be able to have that game come out as well.
No, not to mention, I would imagine you could use the same assets from both.
Absolutely, entirely the same assets.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Like, be able to watch a movie and then be able to see like literally the same art style translated into a game. Like,
absolutely, that's the plan.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that,
you got it, Matt. That's the plan.
That's a good plan. I like it.
You're reading out of our playbook.
Right? So. Seriously, man, this is cool.
Thank you.
So this is another series that you're working on. This one's the
fourth. Yeah, this one's the Fourth World 4. This is this is like a Christian sci-fi action adventure show.
Okay.
It's kind of like a Fantastic Four meets Star Trek Voyager. So
okay, wow.
Four scientists get slung to the far side of the galaxy and changed by some cosmic energy, and then they have to figure out how to get back home and figure out why they were changed and what happened to them. So
interesting.
We're really excited about this particular project, and we just brought on a team that did some work on the Avengers, actually, to help.
That's right. I saw you posting about that. I was like, oh man, that's cool.
Oh, it is super cool. It is super cool, super exciting. And they were actually, they reached out to us and saw what we were working on and said, hey, we'd really like to be involved with this Fourth World 4 show. And so we were like, yeah, we would love to do some work with you guys. So I was actually on the phone with them earlier today talking about some stuff that we're working on with this show. So looking forward to seeing that come to fruition. And I'm currently halfway through a comic script for this particular show as well. As we're looking here at the art, this was all notional art. Those are all 3D assets. But everything here is kind of notional in terms of the final look and feel.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with that terminology there.
Notional, it's just that it's not exactly the final look and feel. We're going to change them a little bit. So those were just models that either we purchased off like the Unreal Marketplace or other 3D marketplaces, and then we just threw them into 3D and modded them and made them look a little unique. Okay. But as you scroll down at the bottom of the page, or close to the bottom of the page, you'll see there's a desktop that we just released. That is the actual, some of the concept art that we're getting for this show. And we're about to start modeling brand new characters for this particular show, because we want to own those assets at the end of the day, so we can license them for toys or for, lunch boxes or pajamas or whatever.
Or whatever have you, yeah.
And it's a little bit further down at the bottom of the page. So if you scroll down towards the bottom, you'll see it's more of a 2D style. You'll see it when it pops up.
So these will the characters look similar to they are now, or will they look a lot different than this? Do you say?
They will look very similar, but they're still going to be slightly different, and you'll see them in just a second.
Okay.
Yeah, we wanted to grab something that we created the characters first, and we wanted to get something in 3D that would kind of work. And so these are actually the final designs in 2D for those characters. So
nice. And you said you guys are working on a comic book as well?
Yes, for this one. We want to build a little interest for Fourth World 4 and have a product that people can, put in their hands or have on their desktops to read and get excited. And so my co-author and I are currently working on a short comic. It's only going to be a 12-pager, but we're doing a short comic to kind of introduce these characters and a bit of the world that they inhabit. So
okay, nice. Kind of get the excitement up for the animation.
Absolutely, yeah, and also it makes it it makes it really nice to have something tangible or a product that's fully vetted like that, fully finished, that you can hand to a potential investor when they're looking to potentially invest in a show. It really helps them to have something in their hands that they can go, okay, I can kind of get my head around this now. I can kind of understand, what it's going to be like, or I can read a story and get involved with the characters or the world. And so we're working real hard to make those sort of little takeaways like that.
Okay.
So
no, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, kind of proof of concept in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Very nice.
So, as like an artist and a creator, where would you say you and your team have gotten a lot of your influences?
Oh man, so for me personally, I couldn't answer for the rest of the team. They'd have to probably do that. But for me personally, like visually, I'm really inspired by a lot of visual styles. Like, for instance, I love Mignola, right? Mike Mignola. I love his work. It's super inspirational. And I love him as a storyteller as well, not just visually. So I love Mike's work. And let's see, I'm trying to think. Everybody's flying out of my head because you asked me the question. One of the things I really enjoy doing is I enjoy finding new artists that haven't ever really been discovered yet. So back from my RPG days, I've been an art director. So everything you're seeing on the website is pretty much been either curated by me in terms of, hey, I'm going to write the art direction and pay this artist to go make this. Or it's been something that I found that kind of resonates with that visual style that I want for that show. And so I like finding new artists that kind of have a new, fresh style and kind of working with that artist to grow their expression, that visual expression of that style, and using that to create a kind of a unique looking show or a unique looking comic or things of that nature. If you jump over, for instance, to the Tenet Tales page on the website, you can see kind of a totally different style, or actually several different styles that I've worked with a couple of different artists there as well. So,
and that's on the Brainy Pixel website, or is that on?
It is. Okay. Yeah, it's on the Brainy Pixel website. So yeah, if you click that more, and then you can jump down to the Tenet Tales, it'll be there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, I was actually just looking at Tenet Tales the other day because I saw you posting about it, and so that's coming out as a comic as well. Is that correct?
It is. Yes. Well, actually, I've got I think 4 short novellas that I published prior to this year for Tenet's Tales. But also I've written a couple, actually I've written 3 or 4 different comics that I've worked with different artists on to try and get those created. And just this year was able to finally get one of those done. A lot of times it's tough working with artists who are friends, or, artists kind of, have another thing to go do or something like that. So sometimes a product will kind of, just kind of peter out. But on this particular project, interacted with a great guy actually in Russia. His name is Mingo Fedorov, and he and I were able to create a short comic to kind of debut on the Brainy Pixel page, and it's called Troublemaker. So you can kind of see here on the covers for some of the fiction where I've definitely got a lot of that kind of Mike Mignola kind of style coming through.
Nice.
But there's lots of other artists that I really enjoy as well. There's a guy in Mexico that I love named Arthur Asa. He did the cover here in the bottom right-hand corner, the reindeer's tail, which I think is really, for me, a very solid style that really expresses what I want to get across with Tenet's Tales. So it's the one here in the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah, that's creepy, man.
And that's where I want. That's really where I want to land with this comic, is that kind of look and feel. So,
and these are short stories, or these novellas you said?
They're both short stories and novellas.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. Depends.
Are each one like connected, or are they more standalone?
They're each standalone, but everything in the Tenet's Tales universe tells a much larger story, and so I've actually got over 6,000 years of storyline already lined out in the Tenet's Tales universe alone, that intersects and goes across a couple of different lines that I'm hoping to be able to produce. So Tenet's Tales is it's kind of like a Christian Hellboy, or maybe a Dresden Files meets Doctor Strange. It's kind of that kind of feel. And it's these. I've had people who reviewed my novellas call it Hellboy meets X-Files. So it's kind of this paranormal investigator, but you learn something about Tenet as you read his stories, and you begin to go, "What's up with this guy?" And you start asking questions. So
I'm gonna dive into this one, Matt. You just you're speaking my language here. Hellblazer is my favorite comic, and I'm an absolute fan of X-Files for sure.
Awesome. I think you'd really enjoy these books and the comic as well. So,
any thoughts on maybe even an animation one day, perhaps?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something that we would like to move to in the future, and so that's why it's here on the Brainy Pixel page, because we're starting to lay down some groundwork for that and see if there's any interest. And so the mode that we're in as a studio right now is definitely a growth mode. We're definitely trying to reach out and touch the right people that might potentially have the ability to invest in a small studio and help grow. I mean, next Netflix just announced they're going to do 6 animations a year, and so somebody's got to make that animation. And so we'd love to be able to connect with someone as an investor or a potential production partner that can come in and help us make some of these shows a reality. That's kind of our hope. So,
well, that's great, man. I think you guys are doing everything on the right way, because your stuff looks great. Like all the stuff that I'm seeing here just looks like polished, perfectly polished. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Yeah, we've worked really hard to make it happen, and ultimately, like for Tennis Tales, like I said earlier, it's really 15 years of work that you're seeing there, kind of between the lines. That's been a passion project of mine for a long time. So there's lots of work that's gone into those words, so and those images.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, and I love how you have all these different styles too. Like you said yourself, you're kind of inspired by different styles, but there's everything for offerings for young children to older audience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to be able to tell. We don't just want to be, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love VeggieTales. My kids grew up on VeggieTales.
Oh yeah, I used to watch a lot of VeggieTales back in the day.
but we don't want to be just a VeggieTales clone. We want to have. We want to have a stable of products where we could essentially, you might start watching Pick Train, which is very, very simple obviously for much younger audiences. And then you graduate to something like Cubekins, and then you might graduate to something like Divine Nine. And then you might go to something like Fourth World 4. And then when you're maybe in college or maybe late high school, you're going to read something like Tennis Tales. So we want to have this broad swath of product that, we can kind of grow with our readers, and and as new readers come in, they can continue to pick up where the others have left off. And so that's kind of our game plan.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, the next one I'm going to pull up here is this is one of your other children's series you mentioned a little while ago, which was Cubekins.
Sure.
And maybe tell us a little bit about what this show is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So Cubekins is kind of 4 to 7 years old, so that's kind of where we're targeting. And the way I kind of originally pitched this show was kind of a VeggieTales set in Mayberry, right? So I don't know if your listeners watched the Andy Griffith show, but I did as a child. And so Mayberry was the town that they lived in, and Andy Griffith and his folks lived in. And it's just very, very simple hometown problems, right? So it's very simple, very wholesome. There's no volcano about to erupt or no portal to hell about to open, that's threatening this little town. It's just the biggest problem that occurs to these people is, hey, grandma lost her pie. Somebody stole her pie off the kitchen window or the windowsill. So it's little simple problems, right? But we learn a lot, especially for younger kids. They learn a lot being able to walk through the resolution of those problems, especially with those Christian messages, which are really, really important to us at Brainy Pixel. And so that's kind of the way this show is positioned. It's definitely it's for the whole family. It's very non-threatening, right? It's very fun, very colorful, and so this one is really close. We got a 22-minute pilot that actually we are beginning to send out to some potential investors and potential production partners. Yeah, we've been working hard on this one. And it looks beautiful. I can't wait for the world to see it. I am so excited about this show. And we're really, really close to this one. We're hoping we've got a hard deadline of early December to start actually entering this one in film festivals. So
interesting.
That's how close we are on this one. So we're
great, man. Good luck with that. That'd be really cool.
Thank you. Yes. Right at the finish line. So
right, yeah, that's a good place to be at, man.
And again, all this is done in Unreal. So everything you're seeing here is kind of that, very high fidelity, beautiful lighting, wonderful diopter shots using various cameras, all inside that Unreal game engine, which, by the way, if you're out there and listening and you want to do animation, Unreal is free. So it's a very, very powerful piece of software, and it doesn't cost anything. So it's pretty amazing.
That is wild. Yeah, and I love that you guys have a unique visual style for this one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, we wanted to do that from the very get-go. We wanted to have each show to be very unique, and even like we have some shows that are 3D and some shows that are going to be 2D. So we don't want to do everything in one specific, genre of animation. We want to mix it up, and we're even talking about maybe doing some mixed media stuff, maybe like with 2D and 3D, in one pane, maybe even some puppets, things like that. So we're definitely okay with, pushing the envelope and trying new things.
Yeah, you mentioned 2D. Was the one we looked at a little earlier, I think was called the Divine 9.
You got it.
Was that one more of a 2D one, or was that also in Unreal?
Divine 9 is going to be 2D, but you can actually do 2D work in Unreal.
Whoa. What?
Yeah,
that's interesting. I hadn't even considered something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah,
right. Powerful.
Yeah, and there are actually some really cool games out there as well. I couldn't call them because I don't play games, but there are actually some really cool games out there that use the Unreal Engine to also do 2D style art as well. So,
okay, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Yeah,
it really becomes really efficient in terms of processing when you're making the game because it's really fast. So that's a big benefit.
Oh, that's wild.
And these videos here at the bottom of the page are just some kind of in-process stuff where we're doing motion capture on this show. So we've got a Rococo motion capture suit, and we're using that to capture all of our mocap. And then we're also doing face capture using the iPhone 11, believe it or not.
Oh, man.
And a piece of software called Aquifer Motion, which I think is only like $11 a month or something. It's super cheap.
Yeah.
And that bottom video there with the little blue guy, I don't know if you can play it while we're recording, but if you watch that video, you're going to be blown away by the fidelity that we're getting with both our body capture with the suit and the face capture with that software. And so literally, the suit's pretty expensive. You can go out and see how much the suits are, but the motion capture on the face, super cheap, $11 a month if you've already got an iPhone 11 and you got face capture.
Damn, that's wild, man. It's really incredible to see you guys taking advantage of these different technologies. Like, it's really creative and innovative. I love seeing that kind of stuff.
Well, we kind of have to be because we don't have huge budgets, right? So, so they say necessity is the mother of invention, right? And so, I mean, literally, that shot is in my business partner's den, right? So we just moved some furniture out of the way, and we don't have the great big beautiful green screens and all the awesome lights or whatever, but we figured out a way to make it work within our really small budgets. And it's all about getting in there, and it's not easy, but once you get in there and you get it working, you can really start getting a lot of stuff done. So it's pretty exciting.
Sometimes the best stuff will come from that kind of a budgetary necessity where, like if you look at a lot of movies, I feel like the Blumhouse movies, for example, they'll have these small budgets, but then they'll make all this money because it doesn't look like it's all over the top or too much. So sometimes you can find really clever workarounds for those kind of issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of the lifeblood of filmmaking, right? That's where it all started anyway. I mean, you see Peter Jackson grabbing a little thumbnail, camera, and he's running around a styrofoam, Orthanc, looking at camera angles for the shots for Isengard, right? I mean, he got a bunch of army soldiers and just glued them to plywood and laid them out on the floor for trying to figure out how to block Minas Tirith, for the.
Oh my,
yeah. And so, and that kind of stuff doesn't cost a lot of money, but you got to get your hands dirty, you got to get in there, and you got to do it, and you got to think outside the box. And so that's really that kind of guerrilla style, filmmaking is kind of what you have to do when you don't have a couple $1 million budget. So
that's cool. I think it's pretty inspiring to hear that, you can do these things without having $1 million budget, because I know a lot of people want to get into animation. They just don't know where to start.
Oh, you can absolutely start animation for nothing. The software that we use outside of Unreal is called Blender, as I mentioned before, and it's free. It doesn't cost a penny. So you can get Blender, you can get the Unreal for free, and then literally every month, and I'm not getting paid by Unreal to come on this show and talk about them, but literally every month, Unreal has free assets on their marketplace. I just downloaded 20 of them 2 days ago.
Oh, wow.
These assets were incredible. I mean, they're like beautiful sets
cool.
that normally would cost $200 or $300 for the sets.
Oh, wow.
But every month they make stuff for free. And if you go grab it while it's free, then you could build a show, in one of these sci-fi sets or one of these jungle sets or whatever. So if you really want to do it, the means are there, and they won't cost you an arm and a leg, and they might cost you nothing. So I definitely encourage anybody, and there's so many tutorials, right? There's so much knowledge out on the web now where you can, just with a simple Google search, you can find almost any kind of tutorial you need to figure something out. So yeah, if you want to do 3D, I encourage your listeners to get out there and get their hands dirty and start doing it. You learn so much that way.
Well, that's really cool. Yeah, I think it's inspiring. I mean, I know we're would love to get into animation at some point. So it's like, it's really pretty cool, man.
Yeah, give me a call, no problem.
Right, seriously. I was like,
hey, we just might take you up on that.
Right? No, seriously, man, 100%.
That would be great. That would be great. We get emails a lot, as you might imagine. But yeah, we love interacting with folks and love hearing their stories, and have no problem, letting you know if the story you got is up to snuff for animation, because it's not just anybody that can pound out a story, that's ready for animation, but we'll help you grow it. We'll help you get it to where it needs to be. And
you guys have experience with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the past 6 months, I think I've written about 30 scripts. So
Jesus, dude.
I've learned.
Man, you are prolific.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think for me, the reason I'm so prolific is because I waited for this chance for so long. I've had the day job where I sat at the desk, and hey, I was blessed to have those day jobs. They paid my bills, they kept my family fed, kept the roof from leaking, but they didn't speak to who I was. They didn't speak to who God made me to be. And so I would go to those jobs and I would just sit there and I would say, like we all do, man, if I ever could, if I could just ever get that job where I was writing all day long, or I was drawing all day long, painting all day long, or whatever, what would I do? And I've just been determined to do all those things that I said I would do. So,
wow.
So I think that's a lot of why I'm producing quite as much as I am. And I just love doing it. So,
well, that's really inspirational, man. I get, not to keep saying it too much, but it really is, just because, and as you said, like, I think a lot of us have that goal, that dream, when they're able to make what we are passionate about, our full-time jobs.
Right.
And
right.
So, yeah, that's really cool to see, and all that hard work paying off for you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I do want to state that it during the time when I was in those jobs, I was still creating, right? So I mean, like if you go to my Amazon page, or if you go to the Four Fools Press, which is my I have a little small indie imprint where we produce books, and so nights and weekends, I would write, or I would edit, or I would develop games. I had a company where we developed the world's first card-based role-playing game. It's called Untold. That was one of the businesses I had in the past. Wow. I've always had that drive to create something. And when you combine that with the desire to see a product produced, and I think that's the two things, right? There's one desire to create, but I hate having something sit on my hard drive where no one can see it, or no one can read it, or no one can enjoy it. And so I want to get that thing to the level of production and fidelity where somebody might buy it, or somebody might watch it and love it or hate it or whatever. I just want to get it out in the world. And so I'm constantly making stuff and putting it out there. And so it's not like I just all of a sudden, 6 months ago, got this gig and suddenly became super creative. I think I've always been super creative. Just now I'm able to do it, 10 hours a day, full time.
Yeah, exactly. It's I can't remember. I think it's a song, but people always think that it happens overnight, like essentially like you're an overnight success, but people don't see the long years of work and effort that goes into that kind of success.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't just start doing this 6 months ago. So
right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, not only that, when you do your passion, you end up really loving what you're doing. So you spend hours and hours doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the case. I mean, before the show, Matt was asking me about, if I was working this weekend. I said, well, I guess I am, but I can't really tell because I love what I'm doing so much. I didn't even know it was the weekend. Honestly, I'm like, hey, it's just another day I get to go write and create cool worlds and awesome characters and interface with amazing artists and see stuff that I dreamed about come to life on screen. I mean, that's a dream job for me. I mean, that's just crazy. Yeah, sign me up. I'll do that for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. Now, one of our people in the chat here, he's actually he brought this up a little while ago, but he said, wait, the Unreal Engine, like what they use for video games, that's free?
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get into animation for ages.
Absolutely, NeoStar. So yes, you can go and download the Unreal Engine for free. And you can use that to make not only games, which you can, but you can also use it to make film and animation. So yeah, absolutely. The one thing I'll tell you about that is there are lots of different versions of the Unreal Engine. They're constantly working on the engine and revising it. So just to make sure, kind of the one thing we had to learn early on was that sometimes certain assets, and that's like your 3D models or your worlds or your environments, sometimes certain assets will only work with a certain version of the engine. So make sure whatever engine version you have matches those models. That can be a real kind of disappointing thing, is if you download 4.3.4 of the Unreal Engine and the models you got will only work for 4.0 or something like that. So
yikes. Yeah, that's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember that kind of stuff when I first started doing game design, and I was like, oh God.
Yeah, it's just one of those little technical checkbox things. You got to make sure you've ticked that box, and then you can go do stuff. But yeah, the reason Unreal does that is because they want people to make more games, and they want people to make films, because obviously, that goes right back. They're the guys that are putting those games out, right? So they get a cut of whatever you sell, right? You're making a game. So, but they're a super cool organization. They've also got a grant program. We just applied for an Unreal Mega Grant.
Wow.
And they are giving away over $100 million, in grant money. So they are very much behind spreading the word and getting people to use the Unreal Game Engine for animation and for film and for obviously game design.
Well, that's really cool, man. Again, good luck on that too, because it seems like that would definitely help out a lot with getting some of these projects off the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. That one was for Cubekins, so we're hoping we can get some production funding for that.
And you guys are so close with that one, and you got the pilot and stuff, so that definitely seems like a good option there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we self-funded the 22-minute pilot, which was, as you can imagine, it's not a cheap thing to do.
No.
But we're self-funding that pilot primarily because we're a fairly new studio, especially in this space, and we understand that. So we kind of got to prove what we can do. But we're hoping that we can produce at least 6 11-minute episodes to follow on, because we're in talks with a distribution company currently that wants to distribute the product once it's made, but they want 6 11s. So we're looking for that additional funding to go make those 6 11-minute episodes so that we can have essentially an hour and a half of content, is really what it boils down to. So.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's really interesting. And now another question from NeoStar. He says, I don't suppose you guys do animation commissions?
Sure. I mean, if you've got the money, we'd be happy to do animation commissions, NeoStar. It's really important to understand exactly how much work goes into animation. However, if you can do some Google searches and find this and verify as well, but I can definitely tell you, I'm not blowing smoke here, but animation can run to the thousands of dollars per minute. So depending on the style that you're looking for, depending on the special effects that you need and things of that nature. But there are also lots of steps that go into that ahead of time, making sure you have a solid script, making sure you have your characters designed, what sort of characters those are. certain characters are going to cost more than others. Like if you want a character with real fur and you want it to move like real fur, that's really expensive, as opposed to a character with like, a simulated fur or like a smooth fur look, right? That's going to be a little bit cheaper to do.
Now, let me ask you, have you would you ever consider perhaps working with someone who wanted to do some crowdfunding perhaps for a net project?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're definitely open to that as well. We're currently looking at potentially doing maybe a Patreon and or a Indiegogo or Kickstarter for a couple of our shows.
That's a good idea.
But for us, we've really got to build kind of that online presence. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm coming on podcasts as well, to kind of let people know about us and what we're doing. Because if you don't really kind of have that audience built in, then unless it just catches, unless it's one of those things that just happens to hit at the right moment, then typically those things don't go so well. So
we'll definitely have to talk then. Maybe we can combine our forces and help each other out in that way.
That would be great.
I know we've always thought, dreamed of things like, Jack Irons animated and things like that. And so maybe we can,
Well, being on the Jack Irons writing team, I'm all for that. I think that'd be
seriously. Yeah, good point. That's a really good point. That's cool, man.
And I'm having a blast with those guys as well. So that is that's a cool world, and I'm really enjoying working on the Golden Monk. That's kind of the character I'm playing around with.
You're with the Golden Monk, huh? Okay. I've been excited about the Golden Monk character for a long time.
Yeah. So I was talking to the guys on Twitter, and I said, hey, I'd love to do some writing for you guys. I want to build kind of my chops in terms of the comic space. I've got credits in fiction. I just don't have a lot of chops and credits in comics. And he said, well, send me something. I'm like, no problem. I pounded out a 10-page comic in a day and sent it over, and he loved it. So,
oh, wow.
So he's like, yeah, you're on the team. So
dude, that's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's really cool. I love like you said, I love the world he's building with all his characters and stuff. So I feel like with the iconic characters that he's kind of creating, I feel like that animation would be a perfect fit for that series.
Yes, I agree. And the art is just so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
I am in love with the lines and the colors.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's just amazing.
Well, that is cool, yeah.
And Neostar, if you're still out there listening, if you do want some sort of animation commission, just go to our website, drop us an email. I'll be happy to talk to you more. I do it a lot. I would get a lot of emails from folks that want to have something animated. And there are certain steps, and it can be done. So, but just let me know.
And I'm sure even for those who are on a budget, you can probably find ways like doing little shorts or making it a little simpler.
Absolutely.
Things to make it a little bit cheaper as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, it all starts with the script. Honestly, it depends on what you want to see on the screen. It directly correlates with the script. If you've got a script with lightsabers and and twirling battle robots and and smoke and lasers and particles in the air, that's going to be crazy expensive. But if it's just a little simple, 2 characters on the screen talking to each other or walking down a street, that's a lot cheaper to do. So sure.
Right. Exactly. It's. Yeah, I imagine like when you do those big battle things, like the more assets you have, the more complex it becomes, the more difficult and more expensive, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it really scales geometrically because not only is it a huge draw on processing time, so typically that is going to definitely mean you got to have either a more powerful computer or more computers, which is obviously a cost, right? Everything translates to dollars, but also time. And time is really where the most cost happens in animation. It's even with motion capture, even with the fidelity and the cleanness of the motion that we can get today with these really nice suits, there's still so much cleanup that has to happen. It's still not perfect. It's not a 1-to-1 translation. And
I see, yeah.
And pretty much any kind of emotive scene, anything where you're close on the character and you want to feel that, kind of emotion, those are pretty much going to have to be done by hand because you just can't get that really even through the best software that's out there right now. We're getting close, but right now you still got to have you still got to have that human touch to really have it affect you. And that's really what you want, is you want it to affect you.
Right. Otherwise it could just come across as static.
Yeah.
If you're not careful.
Yeah, it's going to be like that weird thing going on Twitter with that robot, that dental robot. That thing is horrible.
Oh, that's too funny. Oh man. So you mentioned you also have books on Amazon.
I do. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so are these comics, are these novels, or what kind of books do you offer?
So everything that's on Amazon currently, except for one book, is either a novel or a novella or a short story. I do have one children's book, an illustrated children's book on Amazon that's called Robot Dad, that I actually wrote for my wife, kind of dedicated that book to her. But I got my start in fiction as a result of working in the RPG industry. So I went from going kind of back to the beginning of our call this evening. I took that website that I created and turned it into actually the official Planescape website for Wizards of the Coast. It was actually sanctioned by Wizards of the Coast. They named it the official Planescape website. It was called planewalker.com. And
that's awesome.
It was pretty awesome. And I ran that for several years. And I leveraged that into working in the RPG industry when the D20 boom happened. So if you're not familiar, in the late 90s, Wizards released something called an open gaming source document, which essentially was kind of like software, open gaming software, but they did open rules. And you could create a company and create RPG products based on their rule set. And so that gave rise to the 3.5 and the Pathfinders and the Green Romans. And so I did a ton of work in the industry at that time. I worked for Bastion Press. I did work for Green Ronin. I did work for Wizards. I was in Dragon Magazine. So that's kind of where I got my publishing start, at least for pay. And then thank you. And then move from that. I wanted to just write fiction. I like writing game stuff, but my heart is fiction. And so I moved into the fiction space and wrote Skein of Shadows, which we're looking at here on the page, which was a mosaic novel. I actually wrote that for a gaming company. They wanted a novel based on their campaign setting. And so me and 5 other guys wrote that book. It's been called a fantasy pulp fiction, less drugs and more sword and sorcery. So it's a cool little novel. It's actually like 6 stories in one, and they all build on one another, and they all tell a bigger tale when you read them all together. So it's pretty neat the way that's put together. H2O is a speculative Christian fiction book. So it's kind of like Twilight Zone mixed Christian fiction. And so I wrote that one. That's actually been traditionally published. Everything else that I've done has been indie published or self-published. So the Winans book there, the one with the guy and the ghost behind him, that's one of my Weird War books, which is the universe that Tenant's Tales is in. But that Winans book, Silent Night, Lady White, is a little bit different. It's kind of an occult investigator type book, and he's hunting a ghost around Christmas. The first 4 years is actually a huge novel, not a novel, but a huge book of compiled all the stories that my indie company, Four Fools Press, produced in 1 year. So we put that out all together. The next one was just a love letter to pulp action books, Russian 8 Men from Space. And so that's just a cool little one-off that I did one New Year's Eve and had a blast with that. I've got several Tenet Tales out there as well that you can go pick up, and several other books as well. So I don't. There's so many I don't remember all of them. So I'd have to see them all. But and then
nice. Yeah, the Tenet Tales. That's cool. I'm gonna pick that up.
Yeah, there's 3 or 4 of them out there, and then a lot of these books actually live in the same universe, but people don't know that yet. So it's a slow it'll be a slow roll, a slow reveal. So I was thinking MCU before Marvel was thinking MCU. So.
Oh, that's funny, man. Yeah, you're right. It's kind of a good way to do it. Kind of slowly build it out, and then kind of go for the full reveal.
Absolutely, yeah, totally.
I like this to Live and Die in Dixie. That looks fun.
Yes, that's a bunch of Southern stories. So I live in Alabama, and so I guess I'm technically a Southern author, but I like scary and spooky things, right? That's several stories that my best friend and I wrote. He's also Southern, and so those all kind of live in the same space. They're not connected, but they're individual novellas, and we released that as a nice little kind of Halloween book 1 year. So I think it was about 3 years ago. So.
Well, that's cool. Well, that's great, man. Again, it's really incredible just the sheer amount of projects that you have going on, from stories and comics and animation, and it's like, man, I just can't imagine you find all the time in the day for all this stuff.
Well, again, it wasn't all done in one day, and
True.
I definitely want your listeners to know that. You're seeing the culmination of almost 3 decades of being a creative. So,
and I think that's a good lesson to have. Like, people don't realize a lot of times just how long it does take to break in an industry, because there's it does seem like that kind of overnight success because they don't see that story. So It's good to be reminded of that, I think.
Yeah, and I think another great lesson to take away as well is, when we look at the amount of time we spend doing things in a day, right? Whether it's answering emails or sending text messages or watching TV or playing video games, if you just took one of those activities, and if you took just half the time, right, that you normally spend on that activity, and you put it towards making something, how much stuff could you get done?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people think I'm weird, because I don't play video games, right? and I don't watch sports, and I don't really watch TV that much. And it's because I'm creating all the time.
Wow.
I have so many stories that I want to tell. I mean, I've got 75 tenants tales that I still need to write. So, I have too many stories to tell. I want to tell them all before they put me in the ground. So I'm just trying to get them all out of my head.
Yeah, I think that's really, again, something that people can take inspiration from, because I know I respect it a lot. Like, I find it hard to kind of have that dedication sometimes. You get distracted by the thing. Oh, let's just watch something here, play a game here. And so I kind of see where you're coming from. You're like, I don't really play the games and watch things because I'm too busy creating.
Yeah.
And so it kind of shows you the level of passion and the drive that you have, and kind of shows how you got to where you're at is because you have that drive.
Well, I think it's just it comes down to choices, what's important to you, and thankfully for me, I really can't play video games, because if I did, I wouldn't do anything else. Right. And I'm very, very addicted to video games. And so that's kind of like my kryptonite. So if I ever start playing a video game, I never get off the couch. So I have to kind of stay well away from that. And I've just applied that to other areas of my life. And it's not like creating is all I do. I still have a family, I still have a wife, I still have kids, and love spending time with them and playing board games with them and card games and going hiking and backpacking and, kayaking. I love doing all those things, but when it's time and it's quiet and it's raining outside, or when there's nothing going on, instead of, what I would say is, kind of wasting time. Some people might not say that, but for me it is, because I could be, instead of watching a story, I could be telling a story or creating a story that no one's ever seen. And that's what's important to me. So that's why I do it.
Cool, man. You remind me of I don't know if you saw Hamilton, if you watched that one or not on Disney.
No, I hadn't seen it.
But there's a line from it, essentially, how do you write, like you're running out of time, how do you write every day and night?
Absolutely.
Essentially, and it seems like you really do have that kind of same level of passion and drive, which I think we can all aspire to, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do feel that way. So
that's really cool.
That's apropos.
Oh, thank you. Yes. And so why don't you tell us maybe a little bit, I think we're getting close to the end of our time here. Sure. We have probably another 10-15 minutes.
Sure.
But why don't you tell us about what you're currently, like, what is your most current project, and what are you working on right now?
So as you might imagine, several things. So one, right now we are pushing real hard on getting Cubekins done. The pilot episode for Cubekins is called Invasion of the Cubecumbers.
Nice.
I had a blast writing that script, and we're trying to get that baby done and out the door. By our drop dead date is December the 2nd, so we can start essentially putting that in for film festivals, and then also trying to find investors. So if there are any investors listening out there, you want to invest in family-friendly Christian entertainment, please drop us a line. Or if you know somebody who has money that wants to be an investor or a producer, let us know. That's our kind of big push from the animation side. Just spinning up Fourth World 4. We're going to have some tests pretty soon for that. So be watching our Twitter and Facebook for those. We'll be sneak peeking those on those platforms. And I'm right in the middle of a Fourth World 4 comic at the moment. I'm also writing for the Jack Irons universe. I'm writing another Golden Monk comic. And what else am I doing? There's one other thing. Oh, I'm writing a feature film script as well.
Oh, wow.
So
anything you can tease about that script?
So I can't say a whole lot about that script. That's the
Fair
one
enough, yeah.
I'm working on. That script with a Disney animator, not a Disney animator, a Disney director.
That's cool.
And he is really passionate about that, and we're working real hard on that. And he's hopefully, I'm praying he's going to attach as a director to that soon. But we're really, really excited about that. That's actually the big project.
That's cool, man. Yeah,
that's the flagship.
That's really exciting.
That's the flagship for Brainy Pixel right now.
That's why it's so secret, huh?
Yeah, because when it hits, it's going to be huge, and I'll come back on and do a whole show just on that.
I would love to
tell you the whole story.
Yeah, and with those kind of deals, you got to kind of keep things secret, played close to the chest a little bit, because you don't want to mess anything up when you're so early phases. So
absolutely,
definitely get that. Yeah, well, that's awesome, man. Sounds like you got a lot going on right now.
But give me a couple days, and I'll have 5 new things going. So
right, yeah, really, yeah. Who knows? Maybe we'll as soon as you get off the line, who knows? We'll have another project going, right?
Yeah, very very well could, and I'm all for it. So
yeah. Well, anything you want to tease us about the future? Anything you got coming out soon, or any comics, or any novels, or anything like that?
Yeah, so I think right now I've got a Tenants Tales comic called Troublemaker that's for sale on our website. It's not long, but it's only like 7 or 8 pages. I don't remember exactly, but the art is phenomenal. It's beautiful. Definitely go check it out. It's currently pay what you want on our website, so you can pay whatever you want. I would just love to get people grabbing it, and you can go to brainypixel.com/tenantstales. We're also on our Twitter. Currently, we're twitter.com/brainypixel. We're doing a giveaway right now for every 100 followers that we get following us. We're giving away an 18 by 24 Tenant's Tale poster that is absolutely gorgeous. And we're randomly selecting those, one for every 100 followers. So definitely go follow us, and maybe you'll win a cool poster. Just sent one out yesterday, as a matter of fact. And then hopefully real soon, I will have a new comic for Fourth World 4 done called Waylaid, and that will be on our website as well. And if you guys want to do a giveaway or something for your listeners, I'll be happy to give a Tenant's Tale comic away for, I can give 4 or 5 of those away to. It's digital only. Just bear in mind.
Well, that's very generous of you.
But yeah, we can give, I don't know, 5 or 6 or 10 of those away to some of your listeners. I'd love to get those into your listeners' hands. That'd be great.
Well, excellent, man. Yeah, we can definitely talk about that as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. Man. So just watch us at brainypixel.com. That's our website. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram and Pinterest, and I think we're everywhere. But anyway, all of our social links, we're all at the bottom of the brainypixel.com. So go follow us, friend us, whatever you want to do. We'll be happy to interact with you there, and just looking forward to connecting with as many cool people as we can.
That's excellent. You guys also have that how to draw and paint channel on YouTube as well.
We do. On YouTube, there's How to Draw and Paint, and then also the Pick Train. You can also watch Pick Train on parables.net or .tv, redeem.tv, TBN, Smile of a Child. You can watch it obviously on YouTube. You can watch it on Salt Flicks and 24 Flicks as well. So we're on all those streaming platforms with Pick Train.
That's excellent, man.
Thank you.
That's great. And is there anything you want to tell your fans out there, or people who are considering checking out your stuff and becoming fans?
Yeah, I mean, hit us up on Twitter. I love interacting with people, so I want to make as many friends and followers as I can, and I want to meet all of you guys. So just hit me up on social media. We're in a growth mode right now, so we want to meet new people and network, and I would love to talk to every one of you. So hit me up.
Well, that's great, and we really appreciate you coming on and talk to us a little bit about what you got going on. I know for me personally, I'm super excited to see all of this kind of come to fruition, from all of your animation projects, your comics, and everything in between. So, and even this motion picture, man, it just seems like you've got so many amazing things that are on the horizon, and it only could go up from here.
Thank you. Well, Matt and Michael, man, I just so appreciate you guys having me on.
Oh, you're very welcome.
And looking forward to interacting with you guys more, especially as I'm involved with, Jack Irons. And
definitely. Yeah. I can't wait for that.
And I just want to stay connected with you guys in the future as well. It'd be great. So,
well, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I think you're a great addition to our indie community here, and it's going to be nice to have you with us.
Awesome.
And we'll definitely be in touch and be talking to you about some ideas that we've got as well.
Sounds great.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for everyone in the chat who joined us. And if you're watching on the replay and doing it that way, we also appreciate it. Any likes or subscribes you can give us always helps. And really, honestly, we just want to thank you, Brandon, for coming on and talking to us. It was really, really cool to hear about what you've got, because you got so many cool things. And like I said, I'm just excited about all of them. So
hey, my pleasure. Anytime.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you. And everyone will have a great night, and we'll see